Welcome to the Rob Liefeld Show featuring Robservations. I bring over 40 years experience in comic books and entertainment across 5 decades. I offer insights and opinions on the business and the art of comic books and pop culture. If it's happening in games, in movies, in streaming, or comic books, we're covering it right here on the Robservations Show. Hey everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Rob Liefeld Show featuring Robservations. On YouTube, we're the Rob Liefeld Show. On all the other podcasts, we remain Robservations because there already is another show with a very similar name on YouTube. So we are the Rob Liefeld Show coming at you on our Apple, Spotify, iHeartRadio, all other platforms. We remain Robservations. Robservations is a show that celebrates all things comic books and pop culture, streaming, television, comic books, movies, games, okay? Somebody said, you haven't done a show on games. I did an entire episode dedicated to Marvel Rivals when it was blowing up in January. We have only been doing the video component of this for the last about 3.5 months, but my library of episodes stretches back to 2020, the beginning of the pandemic, where I walk you through my journey with comic books, how I encountered comic books when I was 7 years old. Fantastic Four 147 changed my life, graduated me from Richie Rich and Casper the Friendly Ghost, and catapulted me into the world of Marvel and DC Comics, and I never looked back. I have been making comics for 40 years, across 5 decades, 80s, 90s, 2000s, 2010s. Here we are in the 2020s, and I am having an absolute blast. We have covered the history of comics, the business of comics, behind the curtains of comics. We discuss modern trends, modern occurrences, as well as inspirations from the past. Thank you for listening wherever you listen, wherever you engage us. We are so grateful. And today, as we come to you, the summer is winding down. I don't believe the calendar will tell you that. But boy, every newscaster, every voice on radio, summer's over, summer's over. It's actually climate-wise summer for quite some time, but it seems like everyone has thrown in the towel in regards to the season, and we are pivoting towards the fall. So I thought today it would be great to look back on the big hits of the summer, and we do that with none other than our good friend Jimmy J, who visits the show with his very unique perspective. Jimmy has a storefront that he operates half the week in a very well-trafficked Frank & Sons show in the City of Industry. And Frank & Sons is a giant comic book just symposium. It's way more than a swap meet. It is dedicated storefronts all throughout the giant center. They pivoted to this new center right before the pandemic. It is a fantastic spot. For the previous 30 years, they were down the street in Pomona. They upgraded to this new incredible facility. You want toys, you want sports cards, you want comic book cards, you want comic books, you want Funko Pops, you want high-end, the highest-end statues. It is just such a blast to go into Frank & Sons. Jimmy is the first comic book retailer you're going to encounter when you enter Frank & Sons. He is in aisle 1. He is space number 1. I have been there. I have sat behind his booth as dozens upon dozens of people grab for the comics that he has out, today's hottest titles, the books that some people missed out on that have become the most in demand, that are on the wall. Special variants, special editions. He's got omnibuses. He's had trade paperbacks. He mentions today briefly in our talk that he pivoted. He's pivoted away from the trade paperback omnibus model, which honestly became the driving force of his business for almost 15 years. The business had pivoted toward collected editions in all manner of formats, and what he has done is read the room, follow the trends, and people want the single issues now in a way that they never did before. And so Jimmy watches the trends. He sees what's selling. He sells to a great big giant audience. He also has his amazing comic conventions that have appeared in Arizona, that have appeared in Las Vegas, they have appeared in Oklahoma City and Hawaii. He has a very successful track record as a conventioneer. He had a giant Las Vegas Comic Con back here in June, amazing Comic Con. I did it a year ago. It was my biggest show of the year, and my shows last year during Deadpool Wolverine were monster. But the Vegas shows, the fan base, the people, they are so excited, so sweet, so enthusiastic about comic books, and Jimmy has become the de facto king of Vegas with his incredible shows that he's put on. He always brings the most top flight A-list names to his shows, and this year he had a huge guest list with Ryan Otley, hot off the Invincible Season 3 Battle Beast. He had Jeff Loeb, the legendary writer of all things Batman, and he had J. Scott Campbell, one of the biggest cover artists in the business, and people showed up in droves. And I was actually on vacation at the time, but I was watching from social media, and it was so fun to see Jimmy just put on another successful show. He also, and we lead with this, is the business of San Diego Comic-Con. Now, I know that Jimmy did extremely well, and he'll tell you why he does extremely well at Comic-Con, because he has to game plan two giant, very expensive, as he'll point out. He wanted that to be mentioned in the interview, two giant end caps, where he has trade paperbacks, omnibuses, graphic novels, but more singles than he's ever carried. And he'll tell you the books that he blew out of, the stuff, and I'm going to tell you there's one item he's going to talk to you about, and he was the guy that had the most of them in the room. Nobody schemed like he did and anticipated what people would want. And you have to do that well in advance, because he had to order these products in advance, knowing that this is the stuff that would get the run. This is the stuff that would get the biggest response come Comic-Con. And it turns out he rolled the dice so extremely well. He'll tell you about it. Then we go over how each publisher is doing and has done for him during the fall. And it's very interesting, the dynamic that is building right now. And it's not just Jimmy. I went to a number of stores, and you guys, isn't it exciting? Don't you feel that rush when we go to comic stores? Because comic stores and the spinner racks of my youth, and the gas stations that I used to buy comics, and the drugstores where I see all these, I see a cover from the past. I immediately remember I'm in New Mexico buying that annual. I'm in Arizona on a road trip buying that comic. I'm in Anaheim, California, grabbing that after school. All of these memories rush to me. And, comic stores and spinner racks, and where we interact with comic stores, dedicated sites can really just electrify me and get me so excited about the business. And I have been visiting stores, especially in these last couple of weeks, probably visited more stores this summer than at any time in the last year, popped in and out, got my armful of old collections. They'll always let me, hey, Rob, a new collection of fill in the blank came in. I've taken some out-of-state friends with me. I've taken my family with me, my sons. We have crashed some of these comic book stores, always grabbing some of the greatest latest hits, the books that are exciting people, as well as the back issues. And each and every store tells me how just essential the back issues have become in regards to, making their nut to staying in business. And we want them to stay in business. And each and every one of these stores has told me that this summer there was an uptick. There was an uptick that comic books are on the rise. Interest in comic books are on the rise. And it's very interesting when you hear the two companies that are surging right now. And it might surprise you. And so I have set the stage. We are going to talk to none other than Jimmy J of the amazing Comic Cons of J Company Comics, with his retail business, his convention business, and all of the knowledge that he has accumulated over the last 30 years. He was very candid, said some stuff that I was quite shocked. And considering the show that you're watching, I was literally like, wow, Jimmy's just laying it all out there. So here we go. We're about to say hello, welcome Jimmy J into our interview format. We are going to be doing a ton of interviews heading into fall. Artists, creators, retailers, just get the complete circumference of what's going on in the world of comics, the world that we love so much. So without further ado, here is my conversation with Jimmy J. Okay, and today we are joined by super comic book mastermind, retail genius, the super Jimmy J. He's been on our show across all the different platforms for the last 5.5 years. He was actually on our show in January talking about the state of the comics industry, and I think he's going to tell us a lot, how a lot has changed in the last 7-8 months. Jimmy J has J Company Comics. He can clear all this up. J Company Comics. He has his amazing Comic Con, which he had earlier this summer. I want to hear all about that. But yeah, in keeping with our comics industry spotlight and retail roundup, as many of the listeners know from this show, Jimmy is a many time guest, and so I pick his brain all the time because nothing is more clear about the industry than the people who are actually selling these comic books to the consumer. So, Jimmy, welcome. You're on camera now. Welcome to the Rob Liefeld Show featuring Observations.
Well, you know what? I think I have more of a face for radio and podcasting
You
more
and me
than
both, buddy.
being on
You
the
and me
line.
both.
But no, I'm stoked to be here. The Observations is something that I always like to hear a couple of times a week. It's my favorite, but also I get a ton of interaction from folks who listen to the show and want to come up and talk comics, whether it's at the world famous Frank and Sons Collectibles Show where we have a booth, or coming out to the amazing Comic Con events, which we organize, or even hitting us up at places like the San Diego Comic Con, WonderCon, and all those big West Coast and regional shows. So it's really good. I like being part of the community, and just it's a pleasure to be back.
Jimmy, at San Diego Comic Con, the biggest, most trafficked show I attend each and every year, possibly the biggest in the world. People would tell me, "Hey, man, I met Jimmy J. I was over at his booth." What people don't understand, because Comic Con is something we're going to discuss. Jimmy and his brother, his family, the family business has been the J Company Comics for the last 30 plus years. I met Jimmy when he was selling comic books at retail. So he has seen a lot and experienced all the different ups and downs that all we have. He's done it from retail. I've done it on the professional, the making of the comic books side of things. But Jimmy has these incredible spots, end caps at San Diego Comic Con and what's called prime real estate. And so in the comic book section, which Comic Con San Diego still is one of the few big giant shows that gives a dedicated space. I know because early in the year, attending different comic stores, a couple of the store guys goes, these shows in this region won't give us like put us all together in one area like we are at San Diego. And when you go to San Diego, and I had some friends who went to San Diego for the first time this year, and they met you, and they're like, "Oh, I love how all the comic books are." I guess Hall A and part of Hall B are dedicated comic book publishing, and for a show the size of San Diego, it's awesome. Jimmy has these incredible end caps, and the thing I love about you, and you tell me how much you scheme for the show, what's going to take up real estate on those tables on your walls. A lot of people passing by. Jimmy, what did you sell at San Diego Comic Con? Since it's the biggest show, your biggest retail show of the year, what was selling? What'd you sell? Let us know.
Well, in the years past, our setup is usually built on omnibuses, trade paperback collections, bestsellers. And the reason for that is that in general, traditionally, these are higher price point books. We want to move those higher price point books to the consumers. Real simple. For many people coming into San Diego, this is the one time a year, maybe two times a year, maybe three times a year that they buy comic books. We've noticed the trend that singles radically moved as compared to previous years. And I think there's a reason because of it. For the last 15, 20 years, DC Marvel, they did a pretty good job of keeping their books in backstock. With the distributor wars, they've let a lot of that go to waste. So they've let a lot of that go to waste. And, companies like Image, Boom, things like that, that maybe don't even have the libraries that these companies do. They have gotten lost in the shuffle because it's like, where do you order? How do you order? Things like that. Um, with that said, the market conditions are definitely changing. Times are changing. I think part of it also is that Marvel and DC, the big two, haven't produced as many classic books that you want to keep in your rotation.
Mm.
Again, this is a decade ago, 15 years ago, 20 years ago, that we were buying things like Civil War. That was a book that we kept in stock and moved seriously thousands of copies over time. Every year, every San Diego, we would order 75 copies, 100 copies, move them throughout the weekend. And that didn't exist. Those aren't in print, and those have been out of print. There hasn't been anything new from Marvel to take its space. Same thing now on the flip side at DC, I could say the same thing. There hasn't been anything truly to take its place. And we got just jacked as a retail community is by DC Comics. Man, they are the worst. And the reason why I see this, okay, because they have a really good product. Their really good product is Absolute Batman. That has kept the lights on. I'll get into the singles of Absolute Batman. But this is where, I mean, as a retailer, my heart just got busted open, is because Absolute Batman came out a week after San Diego as a trade paperback and as a hardcover. Now, it's really odd that they released both products at the exact same time, but they did it, so we make the best of it. But what's hard about this, instead of offering it because it was offered a week later, DC offered their own version of it and sold it at their booth,
On the
you know,
floor. On the floor.
cutting us out completely. Here's a book that, no joke, I would have probably ordered 200, 300, 400 copies just for that weekend alone. Not for the life of it, not for, you know, 6 month, a 6 month cycle, just for that weekend alone.
Okay.
And we got a goose egg. Zero. Wasn't offered to us, but they sold it themselves. They even increased the price tag to $50. And I mean, that's hard because, I mean, roughly these are $20 books. This is a 20,000 to a $40,000, $20,000 swing, at our company. And,
And,
just by
and,
doing
and
the
so you
math.
felt like you didn't anticipate that as a retailer you would be competing with them at a retail level. Is what you're trying to say.
Totally.
On the
And then,
floor at San Diego.
on the floor at San Diego, and this was just done dirty.
Hey, I
And
just I just
that's
want to let
that,
I just want to let our listeners know also. It's something I really want to hit home. Two of the biggest stores and the longest running stores, and we're gonna have one of them up on the show real soon. I would forget as I'm leaving their store a couple weeks before Comic Con, as I'm buying comics at the register, and I said, "Hey," to both different stores. I said, "Well, I see you at Comic Con." They're like, "No, we don't sell there. We can't get a table." And they're like, "We couldn't even get in. We can't get on the floor. It's the people who make it onto the floor in case, because we have a listener base that goes all around the world, and we've only been doing this video component for the last 3.5 months, and still the majority of our listeners do find us on just a basic podcast level with Apple, Spotify, Podbean. We all very thankful for all of you who listen. But just so you understand, this isn't like, hey, everybody gets a table. These tables are grandfathered in. There's legacy placements. As I said,
and they're
Jimmy has
expensive,
key booth.
Rob. Okay,
Yes, and it's
I mean,
expensive.
here,
Let's also bring that up. It's very expensive to set up. So I just wanted to cue that in for people who understand. Like, not everybody is like, "Hey, I'm so happy." It's an expense. I know, Jimmy. Will you tell people how many weeks do you put into crafting your two different end cap booths?
we're okay. We're about at 4 weeks of dedicated work. When I say dedicated work, we're talking 15-hour days, prepping singles, pricing out books, going through our storage units, making sure that we have the right stock, the right inventory. I mean, it is a labor intensive. it's the most expensive show cost.
Okay.
It's the most labor intensive. The payout's the biggest. So I mean, so when I moan and bellyache about a publisher going around us, and cutting us out of the pie, this
Yeah.
pie is really important to us because for the amount of work, the amount of time, the resources that we use for this convention, um, I mean, it's paramount. So.
Since you mentioned the products at DC, because I'm learning about this for the first time, how many products were they selling at their booth? Were DC? Are you not able to hear me? Yo yo Jimmy.
Okay, I'm back. I was a little, it was frozen right there.
Okay, no,
Um,
yeah, that's fine. Okay, I didn't see you as frozen on our end. Hey, that's part of technology and the world we live in. I was asking you, what, how many competing products was DC selling at their booth on the floor?
oh, you know what? I threw out their flyer, but I mean, they had think of it as like a legal
Yeah.
size paper. Everything is in thumbnails, but I want to say, I mean, they probably had 50, 60 items. I mean,
Oh,
so we're talking about, Warner Brothers, the biggest media company, is they are, they're a huge competitor. I mean, we're not talking about just exclusive comics, and they had a lot. I mean, a lot, not just
okay.
one special, two special, but I mean, they had all matters of merchandise, um, to, all matters of merchandise. And it's
And has that
interesting to
grown?
see.
Has that grown?
Oh,
Are all the publishers utilizing the space more competitively?
I think so. Years back, DC had this policy that we are DC. We do not compete with the retailers. We do not compete with the direct market. We don't have variants. And they would
Okay.
even use other retailers on the floor, um, graffiti arts and stuff like that to sell their exclusives. But they themselves were always above the fray. But I mean, whether it's them, DC, whether it is Image Comics and people, rushing to get, their limited exclusives, allotted every single day, whether it is Marvel has opened up retail in the past and usually like, hey, we're offering three items and three pins and maybe a Rocket
Yeah.
Raccoon, furry
Yeah.
doll or something, Beanie Baby essentially. So they've done some things, they've dipped their toe into it, but but a lot of times they have their partners do
I,
their official books. But
I'm
more than
showing a
ever,
Scotty Young pin. I'm pretty sure they were doing a couple years back. They had a bunch of exclusive Scotty Young pins at the Marvel booth
yeah, I
that
mean,
you could buy.
exactly.
I had this on my bulletin board, so I'll just pull it out because it just. So I see what you're saying, but you felt that this year it was excessive. Yes.
Oh my gosh, it was excessive because also, even as a fan, you'd go there. Okay, we would spend for our booths, we spent basically the price of a car. Uh, Not exaggerating, price of a car for our booths for those
Yeah.
days. They would not let
Uh huh.
exhibitors in to buy the product, which it seems kind of crazy. I mean, for the amount of dollars that we spend, we're not allowed to spend more money. But they would also drop things during
Okay.
the show. So if you happen to be lucky enough to be in line at that time, you could get in and you could get the variant.
Okay.
If you were not, even if you're first in the day, doesn't mean that you're guaranteed. They might drop something off at 3 o'clock in the
Okay.
afternoon, and it wasn't a pre-line, it wasn't a ticketed item. Luck of the draw. You were in line while they opened up a box, why they offered this specialty item. So I mean, it was an S show, it was a shit
The
show over there, but it definitely competed with us, and
what
and
about Marvel? Did Marvel have comics?
They did, and that was pretty crazy. You had to download a QR code from one of their partners. I want to say it was Topps or as a trading card company, and you were able to get a Fantastic Four Pedro Pascal um, comic book. I think there was a Jeff the
Okay.
Shark. I knew there was a Jeff the Shark, and there was a limited amount of like J. Scott Campbell swimsuit, Marvel swimsuit items. Um, but those were only available, I want to say, like Friday and Saturday of the show. So really limited basis.
And
But I mean,
just
that's the
keeping the
nature. I
balance,
mean,
keeping it
you
in
know,
the
there's a
balance
lot of
here.
exclusive. Yeah, so
No,
there's a
go
lot
ahead.
of exclusives. So I do understand that. But you know, I think more than any other time, there's also the amount of artists that they have their exclusives. There's one app, you know, a guy who walks around and he is, you know, the authority of the you know, of the exclusives world, or at least he claims to
Yeah.
be. And he said, "Oh, there's 632 comic book items that are exclusive here to the convention." I mean, this
Wow.
is radically different than, you know, a decade ago when there was like maybe a dozen between everybody. So everybody and their brother and their sister said, "Hey, this is an exclusive from Comic Con. We're going to stamp this new release as an exclusive from Comic Con. Here's an example." And that's all the nature of the of conventions. You know, you have to change with it. If you can't change with it, then it's not the place to be. There's some massive publishers, massive chain retailers that were long time standing San Diego Comic Con booth holders that had massive booths. And you know, they didn't change with the times. You have to be flexible. And I think this year we showed a lot of flexibility with our J Company booths by again being able to adapt to a more singles environment. And that's really what happened on the
Yeah,
convention floor.
you touched on it, and there are a lot of retailers that aren't there anymore. There are a lot. The most famous, Mile High Comics, Chuck Rosansky, guys my age, guys your age. We saw those double page Mile High ads in Marvel and DC Comics our entire lives. Chuck Rosansky was at one time probably the uh, brightest mind in the business. He's got a giant Mile High superstore in Colorado still. I have nothing but crazy respect for him, but he will remind you each and every year that he pulled out and left about a decade back. And there are a lot of retailers, like you said, who didn't change with the times, who are gone, who don't have whatever it's the fluidity that you have brought. Now, here's the cool thing, and this is what I love, and I understand, and I think everyone who is listening understands that retailers, as Jimmy said, it costs a car, and don't think that those New York. Uh, Ironically, there is a New York comic book retailer. I will not identify who he is. I buy from him each and every year. I buy from him the same time each and every year on Wednesday preview night. He stopped setting up at New York Comic Con. I don't know the economics of that whatsoever. I have to trust him. And he says, he's got an accent. Hey, Rob, cost me more to set up there than come all the way out here and set up in San Diego. And I'm like, wow. Like, I don't get into the nuts and bolts, but that's why he is no longer at New York Comic Con, which gets me to the point of these are very expensive for comic book retailers to show up to. But as you said, it's also the biggest of the big game hunting is San Diego and New York Comic Con in terms of customers and the desire to buy what you bring. My buddy Jimmy here always impresses me, and I had seen Superman about 5 days before it came out of the theaters, and you called me the next day and said, "Hey, San Diego's next week. Is there anything in here that I should be aware of?" And I said, "You know what, Jimmy? The audience roared when Supergirl comes on the screen." And you asked if that was a post credit. I said, "No, it's actually in the movie. Supergirl comes on, comes back. Of course, Superman's been out 2 months, so I don't believe this is spoiler territory. Supergirl returns to the Fortress of Solitude to claim Crypto in the last few minutes of the movie. It's a great spot. Everybody, the three times I saw it on opening weekend, it was always the same. Roared when she came on screen, when Millie Alcock is portraying Supergirl. And so I told you this, and I just want our listeners to know, Jimmy, you said awesome because I ordered a ton of the Supergirl trades to have at San Diego. And, you know, I was just like, of course you did. Of course you did. Because, I mean, you, like I said, you scheme this show in order to maximize the audience, the bodies that are passing by your booth. So tell us about Supergirl, the successes. What are the successes of the show from the tables
Oh,
and your giant setups?
Supergirl was a huge success. We ended up having, after everything was said and done, well over 100 copies of the trade paperback.
Unbelievable.
I tried to also order more throughout the show and get them FedExed and drop shipped
Yeah,
to our convention floor. And we ended up having some copies on Sunday. The trade paperback was going for more than cover price, which gives you an indication of the hunger for
yeah.
that product. Um, the Woman of Tomorrow, the single issues, started out the show, saw people selling them for 60, $70, equivalent to
Okay,
what
that
they were
just went
going for.
totally digital. So whatever you just said, say it again.
The singles of the comics, Woman of Tomorrow, Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow,
Okay.
were starting out at 70, $80 on the convention floor. And by the end, they were at 150. So
Yeah,
$150.
no, no, no. I did hear that. I saw it. I saw it on everyone's
Yeah.
walls, which is why. Look, if I don't have my glasses on, I can't see prices. And so I said, "Hey, Jimmy, what was that? This is now. What this is the Tom King. Forgive me,
Correct.
the artist escapes me, but it's the Tom King written Supergirl #1. Did that come out 2 years ago? 3 years ago? What's the
Yeah,
date on that?
it came out, I want to say it came out like 2, 3 years ago. The what definitely pushed the price is that Tom King did a number of signings all throughout the weekend, and he
I
talked
see.
up his involvement, and being
Yeah.
a key creator. And the artist actually is an overseas artist, and he was flown out from Dark Horse because there's a project over there, and so they were
Okay.
giving out tickets by him. So between those two creators, they were definitely promoting that product extensively, and especially because it was the big flex with the James Gunn movie. So that was the
And
big.
for the listeners, Tom King has been welcomed into the production end of things by James Gunn. I think Tom is a producer or a showrunner in some status on the Lanterns show that's coming out, and I obviously it's his material they're adapting, and he possibly I didn't check it before I got on. Maybe has a producerial role on Supergirl in addition to writing that. So yeah, Tom is on the other side of things as well. So like you said, he's out there, he's promoting it. He's getting the audience going, but $150 for Supergirl #1. And
Oh,
look, here's the
totally.
deal. I brought this. I just want the listeners to know I brought these to show to Jimmy. Here's my absolute Batman #1 first printing. Here's my absolute foil. You know who I bought these from with 10 minutes to spare before the store closed? Opening bell. I bought them from Jimmy. I was
Yeah.
doing meetings all day long in Los Angeles. I said, I'm going to try and make it before you close. I got in the door 10 minutes before. Jimmy had these for me. And I routinely, because we do love to know the value, especially when something has buzz, like you're saying Supergirl does. And on the floor, again, you guys have all seen it when a book catches fever on the floor, everybody sets or everyone's setting a different price. Maybe one guy has 100 of these, so he's gonna charge him the cheapest because he has the most. Another guy may only have two or one, so it's going to be more valuable to him, and he's going to part with it at a higher cost. Uh, but absolute Batman, Jimmy, you
Oh
you
my
you have
gosh.
been telling me for a year that this is the phenom. It's the phenomenon of 2025.
I got to give all the props to Scott Schneider for that because, man, that book and all of its printings and all of its covers uh, have kept the lights on for many retailers since October of last year. It has only been a book that has kept on gaining heat, not losing heat. Much like the Hollywood box offices and
Yeah.
reports where it's like strong opening week, dip into week 2, week 3, week 4, and they do the trajectory. It's much like comic books are. Okay, Absolute Batman has been fire and has been adding readers. So there's a lot of covers, there's a lot of stuff to collect. And I think this is a great example for comic book publishers looking at things. And because it's not like this at DC across the board, it's very much absolute set the bar on it. There's a lot of covers on it, so they embrace the collectability factor, but the quality's there. I mean, that is a crazy combination, and it's so rare in these days because there's not a lot of good books out there. There's not a lot of like
So
people
Jimmy,
that are when I say good books, I mean people that are know what's inside the books, not just what's on the cover or this is rare or I got this at a convention. This is a book that readers are consuming, talking about, broing out about, you know, at the
yeah.
table, whether it's
Well,
frankincense or whether it's San Diego. It's adding to it. So those later printings, those later issues, and those later printings all went for radically over cover price. If you got a fourth printing number 4, those were still selling $15, $20 on that convention floor. I thought that was a San Diego phenomenon. It's not. These are selling for over cover price, about 2, 3, 4 times cover price in the what I call the real world, in addition to a convention floor. So I mean, props to them.
and everybody, all the listeners, once again, you got to understand the pricing on this stuff matters. If you're going to go to eBay, if you're going to go to live streaming, the pricing reflects the popularity of the book. It reflects it's votes. People voted for this. The supply now does not meet demand. Demand is increasing. So as Jimmy said, I mean, I would not want to watch. I don't want to. Okay, Jimmy, absolute Batman, average price. What am I paying for this? If I want to go in and I want to have a first printing, as I have here, my covetous first printing of absolute Batman. What do I have to pay for this right now? Coming in cold.
75 to
Average
100
price,
bucks. 75 to
75 to
100.
100 bucks. Unbelievable. Like, and I see it. I see it across the board. I see it in the pricing in the stores on the convention floor. Uh, so I just want to. I have obviously some questions for you, but so this is Absolute 11. I grabbed this Wednesday when it came out, and my retailer, biggest store in Orange County, said we didn't get enough. This is issue 11. Issue 11 said I should have ordered more. It is his number one ordered book. So they are still reevaluating the heat on this. The thing that I love about what Scott Snyder, and in this case it's Clayman, but Nick Dragata are doing month in, month out. It's I think the book is just not scared to take big swings visually. It's not scared to take big swings conceptually with the story that they're telling, with the visuals. It's very action packed. I was even like wowed. Look, I'm not like when I use wow, like I'm not gonna shriek away from violence, but I loved how violent, gory, action packed issue 11 was, in keeping with where it all started. And I got my foil here. Jimmy, what am I paying for a foil if I come in and I want a first print edition foil?
For that particular one, probably about 75.
Yeah,
Probably about 75.
first print. See,
First print.
and again, that speaks to it. So, Jimmy, what is your customer base telling you? You've told me that you watch people that
Yeah.
they apostle. There are disciples on
Disciples,
this
yes.
book, and they are converting people in real time, right in front of you, right? And what
They
are they saying
are
about
in
Absolute Batman?
okay, great word of mouth. And I mean, it's been a few years since we've had a word of mouth book where somebody's buying it and then
Okay,
they look over the shoulder and they tell the person to the left and the person to the right that they need to be reading this book. So these are not shills. They're not like me, like hyping it
yeah,
up like those baseball card guys on QVC from back in
right.
1998. You know, that's like, oh, you got to buy this. Quite the opposite. It's more peer to peer, and that is driving the market more than covers or more than releases or artificial. It is this great word of mouth. And there are people that love the story, there are people that love the art. But the one thing that they agree on is that this is their Batman. It's a younger demographic. And I would have never thought, okay, 6 months ago, I was telling you that foregone conclusion, Hush is the book of the year, the number one book of the year.
Hmm. Yeah.
Not even close. Was I wrong? I mean, how could I be so wrong? I mean, I bet on guys like Jim Lee. I bet on, I mean, I put a crazy amount of money on these guys and they didn't hit. And these are surefire, what in our industry, these are surefire hits, what we think are surefire hits. Last year, I made a doofus move. I bet on Greg Capullo like that, and Jonathan Hickman with their Wolverine. So I mean, so publishers, there are some things that you go, hey, this should be an exact hit. This should be a sure thing. Not a sure thing. I would have never thought that Jim Lee's Batman would be about the third or fourth best Batman over at DC Comics. Never thought that would have happened. I like the book. We sold a lot of copies of Hush over the years, but man, was I wrong. Can't
Um,
FOC get that stuff fast enough.
okay, I'm sorry. Okay, here's my question because obviously I'm listening to this going, well, I am of that class of creator as well, and the names that you just dropped. Okay, here's what here's something that I want to ask you about. Are we in a shift? Because many of the names you just mentioned are some established veterans. The interesting part of this piece is in analyzing this is Nick Dragata, who I knew from East of West, a big time independent book, which was probably, are we going to say 2010, 2011, 2012? Well, I don't know if it was out then, maybe 2013.
Yeah, it was that.
What was, is this the,
Yeah, it was those early 20 teens.
and East of West was a definite buzzy book. I did not see this Nick Dragata emerging from those pages to be kind of this wicked, wicked ass Batman artist. I mean, balls to the walls. I mean, look, you know, we can't underscore how the 10-foot tall Batman is turning on people. Beefy, meaty, violent, and as I said, issue 11 is by Clay Mann, who really picks up the mantle. I know there's been a couple because keeping a monthly schedule is really difficult for anybody. I don't care who you are.
Yeah.
And Dragota is pouring a lot of detail and lots of storytelling into his work, so it's time consuming. So he's had a couple of fill-in issues, but with Clayman, I felt like the storytelling, what I call a manga style approach, it's in the cut of like hand swinging, fist punching, feet kicking. It's not a traditional Jack Kirby style, John Buscema style. It's more reflexive manga with the speed and the quickness of the fight of the brawl, but also. So we've got Dragota, who is now emerged, and then some of these other names that you're mentioning. Are we seeing a shift? And trust me, I'm about to
Yeah.
I'm about to put RIP on my own forehead here because
No, you know what? Don't. I mean,
no, it's okay,
but
it's a good cautionary tale. Because here I'm going to pull this into the pile. We've got Transformers. This is Transformers
okay.
23. Okay, and Daniel Warren Johnson, I believe, really kind of set the stage for what happened with Absolute a year earlier. Again, a more manga style approach to storytelling than what we've seen before. And this has been a book, I think, that was the first word of mouth book of the last 2 years. When we talk about word of mouth,
A
right?
hundred
Right.
percent. Okay,
Tell
correct.
me about
Daniel
Transformers.
Warren Johnson, I think. Okay, Daniel Warren Johnson is the leader of these new comic bros, this new
Okay.
generation of comic bros. Okay, and that is a thing.
Okay.
To ignore this is crazy. So Daniel Warren Johnson, Nick Dragata, they're both in that same school.
Okay.
With Daniel Warren Johnson, okay, I first thought the Transformers were okay, cool, fun story that people are ready to go with their nostalgia, and it's a cycle, and so
Yeah.
that's fine. It's not the nostalgia. It's Daniel Warren Johnson. There are people that he was on the convention floor doing signings, and he was a friggin' rock star, and people would run up to us going, "What do you have by Daniel Warren Johnson?" I point out to the Transformer trade paperbacks, and those sold okay. Those sold good. But on the singles, I said, I have all these singles. They're like, well, I only want the Daniel Warren Johnson covers. I'm like, well, don't you want Starscream? Don't you want Optimus Prime? Don't you want Bumblebee? Don't you want? They're like, yeah. Did Daniel Warren Johnson do it? Did Daniel Warren? I mean, it was
Okay.
DWJ was a buzzword, and I
No, he's
have
a
never heard
monster. He's a
three
monster.
words together that much in a single weekend, and I was like, holy crap. So he was the gold standard. He was the one who's pushing. It wasn't as much as the brand. It was he has arrived. Just like Marsha Brady, I have arrived.
No, I
Um,
got,
and
and
it
you know
was the
what?
coming out party for Daniel Warren Johnson.
Even though these issues are by Jorge Corona, you see a distinct, you see a distinct influence as Daniel writes these. I mean, I see his influence. Uh, Jorge appears to be a Daniel Warren Johnson, disciple,
But it's this
and I know,
ilk.
yeah. Like I said, there's definitely. I look at it from a craft, art, storytelling perspective, and you definitely would have to be deaf, dumb, and blind to not see what's going on in regards to change, shifts changing. Look, I everything you say, Jimmy, I know comes from a place of you ordered these books, you expected certain performances out of these books. When they don't happen, you're not scared, you're not shy, you're very open and candid, and always have been about what works and what doesn't work. And so
I think
Transformers,
that you
what
always
you
have
just
to be fluid.
yeah,
Oh,
no, no, go ahead.
I just think you always have to course correct. And it just seems like right now more than ever, it's like, so the Transformers are doing great. Okay. So that's awesome. It's, Daniel Warren Johnson that is pushing it, a creator that is pushing it. This is something that has been unlike the last probably 5 years or more, probably, but several years in the comics industry, is that there are actually a new batch of creators that are pushing the sales of comics. The
I
creators
see.
are pushing the sales. Um, I'm going to put in this category. It will be interesting to see, which percentage he is. But then there's like a performance artist like Ryan Otley. He's out
Yes.
on the floor. He's doing remarks. He is. I wouldn't say he's in politician mode. I don't get that vibe from him. But he's like, I'm going to outwork everybody. And if people want their invincible vibe, I'm here for it. I am here to be the
So
invincible
let's
guy.
merge this. Since you brought up Ryan, let me merge this because it was where we were going next anyway. And I do want to. So Supergirl, Absolute, Transformers. We haven't gotten to Marvel yet. We're going to get to that. But your shows that you put on, you have been the king of Vegas, the amazing Vegas shows. You had Ryan Otley. You saw
Correct.
up close and personal. You hosted him for 3 days at your Las Vegas show. Was that in June? In June of this year?
That was in June. Yeah,
And
so that was
oh, and
third week
so
of
so
June.
you had Ryan Otley, you had J. Scott Campbell, you had Jeff Loeb. That is, to
Correct.
my
Yeah.
memory, what I saw. I was actually on vacation uh, as I was watching this from afar, but it seemed like that Vegas crowd is awesome. I love them. I've done your show a number of times, but I knew that they would be. I remember as you were cultivating your guest list. And Jimmy, the thing I love about your shows is they are true blue, tried and true comic book shows. As I hear people, and you and I, we can talk about this openly, candidly. We have friends, many friends, dozens of people who do the convention circuit, and what they're finding out at shows like Fan Expo. I had some buddies who did Fan Expo recently. They're like, Rob, the crowds in the comic book section are sparse because everyone is caught up in the lines for Ewan McGregor, for Hayden Christensen. They're there for Obi-Wan. They're there for Anakin. They're there for John Cena. Holy crap, John Peacemaker. John Cena is, and that is hard to compete with because, of course, it's a foregone conclusion that the crowds are going to go there first. We are a culture that loves our pop stars. Like I'm writing the other day, I'm writing a screenplay, and I'm sitting there going, I mean, this hinges on the performer. The performers are who we elevate the highest, not the directors, not the special effects guys, performers. So we celebrate them from our couches. With you know, I will follow certain performers if they do interviews on talk shows. I will follow performers on streaming shows. I will. There are names off. So if they're going to show up in my neighborhood, you better believe that they're probably not going to be as interested in the comic book product as they are. But at your shows, you have completely narrowed focus to great success. I can tell people right here, look, let's just, again, what backs up facts in our world? We look at earnings. I hear about the stock market every day. multiple times a day. I hear about the earnings on box office. I hear about streaming subscription earnings. Look, biggest dollars I have ever made have been at the Las Vegas comic book shows. Okay, and your shows, your amazing shows. So that audience, that crowd loves comic books. So you had Ryan, you had Jeff, you had Campbell. I mean, it's an all star lineup. But you saw up close and personal when you refer to uh, Ryan Otley and Comic Tom, who is on live stream, is another guy who, like you, said Ryan Otley is one of our great performers right now. So now lean into that. Tell the audience, what does it mean that Ryan Otley is one of our great performers?
Ryan Otley is the guy's a stud. Okay, gives great fan service. He is the first to arrive, so he arrives before opening bell, takes care of the
Okay.
retailers. So those retailers are great because you know what? They wave their books around. They tell everybody how much money that they make. They turn into a de facto cheerleading squad, pep squad, rally squad.
Okay.
And I give that props. Okay, that's smart business. That's great business. Um, then with the fans, he's great with all of them. Talks to them as he sketches. He sketches on the floor. He does. His autographs are inexpensive in comparison to this day and age. He has a media project, okay, with Robert Kirkman's Invincible behind him. So I mean, this is this huge gorilla. I mean, let's not kid ourselves.
No, and
And
Battle
that's
Beast is a
and
giant product of that.
totally, totally. But I mean, like, figure this: Ryan Otley's way bigger with Battle Beast and Invincible than he ever was with Spider-Man and the Hulk. So this is a new generation of fans. Okay, they're valuing things completely different than maybe fans were 10 years ago, 5 years ago, 20 years ago. So those products, I mean, so Ryan Otley, he's the one who's carving out the space. And with the conventions and the people that we bring in, and I wear the retail hat, I wear the promoter hat, but also I put my money where my mouth is. Okay, these are people that I value. I buy their product.
Yeah.
I promote their product because it's good business. And so if I say disappointment with different products and things like that, I got to call it like I see it. We are driven by economics. There's a
Yeah.
lot of people out there that I like, as people. So that doesn't have anything to do with it. I want everybody to do well. I want every product to do well. But unfortunately, that's not always the case. But
Yeah.
Ryan, he's flexing right now. But he's doing it in a very sustainable way. He's outworking everybody, and he is
Yeah.
a great gold standard for creators moving forward right now. This new generation of creators can look to Ryan Otley, and I think of him as a young guy, but I mean he's an industry vet that's been around for 2 decades now.
Yeah. Look, I'll jump on that and tell you. Obviously, man, there's a couple things you said that we need to really kind of focus on. A couple things. Yes, I have seen him and in his burn through his sketch list, and I don't mean burn through it like hack through it. He gives everyone these high quality sketches, and he has a gift that he can maintain quality and speed. He's disciplined, goes to a show knowing. I've talked to him. He loves to fill up his sketch list. He loves to deliver big smiles on people's faces with great. He also, because let me tell you something. Back in, I talk about the 80s all the time and the creation conventions that were in Los Angeles, that were in my backyard here in Anaheim, Disneyland Hotel. And I will not identify the artists. I'll tell you the artist who delivered for people. George Perez was here a couple times a year in the 80s. And if you were lucky enough to get on his sketch list, he delivered you a knockout sketch, full figure, bust, whatever. Art Adams was another one. Came out when he was young. Fantastic. There were two guys. They were more, they were young, not quite the oldest industry vets they could be. And a buddy of mine took it back and said, "Hey, man, you were talking to somebody else the entire time you did the sketch. I was standing there, and this looks like crap." And he accosted the artist, and a couple other guys were like, I got these sketches, just didn't feel like I was getting what you know, they didn't feel like they got what they paid for. I have never seen a Ryan Otley. So now I'm jumping ahead 40 years. I've never seen more than that. People who get Ryan Otley sketches are thrilled. He picks the shots. He picks great shots in action. They're engaged. They've got a great gesture. And then I've seen him do his blood with his red marker, and it just, so like I said, so you got to see it up close and personal. He delivers this wherever he goes. Like you said, he's riding a giant glow up right now because Invincible, but here Invincible is having a giant glow up. Battle Beast is basically the only place you can get the monthly adventures of the Invincible universe. Genius. Jimmy, what you just said is he is bigger back on Invincible than he was, and he did do a year or two on Spider-Man, a year or two on Hulk.
Oh, he did
And
more than a year or two on Spider-Man. He did
okay,
50 issues, 60 issues.
okay. Oh, so here's the deal. What do we take away from that? Like what? And my immediate, as you said it, I'm like, there's two Invincible artists. There's only two. There's Corey, who launched the book, and then Ryan, who stepped in, I guess, issue 7 on and finished the series, taking it. Did it go to 140? Did it go to 150? I know it.
Yeah.
Ryan was the dedicated monthly guy. So think about that. When you go, he's bigger on Invincible. Well, he and Corey are invincible. They are your I they're your Invincible creators, the guys who brought Invincible to you. Their work is the one being reflected on the cartoon. How many dozen people draw Spider-Man and Hulk every year? I think there is something really that we're not going to dwell and spend the whole rest of our time on, but that little, what you said, is worth putting under a microscope. You know, he
No, go. I'm sorry.
No,
Go
no,
on.
no,
I
I'm,
don't
I'm
want to
done.
cut you
I'm
off
done.
here.
I'm done.
Well, also, I mean, but back to the conventions. It's interesting though that you mention other convention brands. Okay, I'm not. You can, but I've talked to talent. I've talked to reps, and they scratch their heads and they go, "Wow, Jimmy, I can't believe Las Vegas with you. We get better numbers." Okay,
Yeah.
I had this across the board. The reason why they do is because they're put on the marquee. Okay, again, I back my dollars. John Cena, man, he could get floor seats at the Lakers. That's a true superstar. That's not, somebody who's a nostalgic act, somebody who's a throwback, sitcom actor, you know, um, TBS rerun star. No, this
Yeah.
is this is my end. But our approach is cultivating an audience and cultivating a connection with those creators. And I think there's a new wave of creators that have a legion of fans that want to connect with them. And places like the Amazing Comic Con is that place. A place to, it doesn't need to have 100,000 people come through the door. It needs to have a few thousand people, but those are the few thousand people that are there to see those creators.
I want to let our listeners know something because I can share this with them through the spectrum of an experience that my wife and her friend, who she went to college with, she went to Baylor with, and she has two daughters. And a few years back, post pandemic, they were going to see Tom Holland at one of these shows, and they drove out of town. So they committed to a weekend trip, a lot of driving. And when it was all said and done, they're like, we had no idea that we would stand in line for 4 hours to get the photo, and then we would stand in line for 3 hours to get the signature on the photo. And they were like telling us just the bewilderment. It really, how their entire day was in pursuit of this. Now, do they love that they have the photo? They do. And do they love that the photo is signed? 100%. Why I'm telling this to people isn't to gripe, it's not to whine, it's to show you that those people are off the floor for 8 hours. They're off the floor. They are standing in one line for 4, maybe going and grabbing a snack, shifting over to the next line as then the photos are printed, developed, and you've seen it up close and personal. I've seen it up close and personal. But the average person, so what they didn't do, and you're going to be, well, Rob, this is a woman and her two daughters. Correct. They are never walking by the comic book area in the first place. But I have seen people on my message boards, people on my social media who said, Rob, I'm going to see you at fill in the blank show. And they say later, hey, Rob, I couldn't see you. I was in the Guardians line all day Friday. And the next day I was in the Star Wars line. Maybe connect with you next time. So obviously it's not just Joy's friend and her daughters who want to go see Tom Holland. Duh. So it affects so that kind of traffic does not spill out over to the comic book people who have also, you talk about you as a retailer committing your resources to buying your spots at San Diego and then cultivating the stock and having all the supplies and then that doesn't even factor in the people who are working your booth with you, because you certainly don't do it alone. The comic book artists pack up, they fly, they drive, they unload, they set up, they pack up. I mean, obviously they're in lodging. Maybe the lodging is paid for, maybe it's not. So it's a big shift that's happening in our industry right now. What you are doing and what I've seen be very successful in the last 2 years is what I have heard is the return to the ballroom show, the kind that I grew up on. That this is the show where Dave Cockrum gave me a kick-ass sketch. He's not the guy I'm talking about. Kick-ass sketch by Dave Cockrum. Kick-ass George Perez sketch. Kick-ass Art Adams sketch. Kick-ass Mike Zeck sketch. Great interactions with Chris Claremont, Jim Shooter. These were at the ballrooms in the Disneyland Hotel. So this wasn't, at the Hotel 6. This is at the Disneyland Hotel. Really nice setup. The kind of stuff that you have going on where it's very comic book centric. It's super focused, and the fans get to interact with comic book talent because, there's a lot of people who want more than just the photos, and they do want the sketches by Ryan and all that stuff. I recognize that time may be short with us. I'm glad your show kicked ass, because your show kicked ass, right?
It was great. It was great. I mean, and we want to keep on moving forward with this format. And I mean, again, if I look at it this way, the retailers all did really well there. Okay, so I just bellyached about San Diego Comic Con, how much it costs to be there. We can give an affordable booth to vendors that they do really well. Okay, the fans, they get that interaction. Okay, they get that interaction with the best of the best. Okay, we cultivate a great audience. So instead of having, 40 really solid names, we're the steak dinner. We're not the hometown buffet. We're going to give you the best of the best. So that's our approach. And oddly, that's our approach to retail as well. We're going to stock those best sellers. We're going to stock the stuff that you want to see the best, that you want to consume, and also that you can't get everywhere else. And our approach to throwing the conventions and retailing at the conventions isn't so different in those regards.
So my question to you is, we haven't talked about Marvel. Can you tell me what's going on with Marvel in your retail space?
So Marvel right now, in the
Marvel
retail
Publishing.
space, Marvel Publishing is all about the crossovers. Okay. It's the crossovers. It's Godzilla versus and Predator versus. Lots of foil across the board. A lot of new number ones. Okay, the aspects of those that are working is that it sells to a very casual fan. It's not your Wednesday Warriors. Okay, so that part is really good. I like that. I like the price points. Okay, the price points are very favorable. Costs a lot of money to stock those books, but the return is really good, and the shelf life has been pretty good as well. All that stuff is solid. It's not sustainable, but every time that I wonder, is this going to be the last one? It seems like Marvel's finding one more crossover, one more, and it stands to reason. They have Batman. Okay, so they had Predator, they had Godzilla. Doesn't get bigger than that. Oh, yeah, it does. It's called Batman. So they're doing that in a few weeks. We're going to have the Batman crossover with Deadpool.
I know that guy. I know that guy.
I know. Imagine
that.
Yeah. But what's nuts is that so it's Marvel once again gets to rely upon that crossover, rely upon everybody else helping them out, and they're getting the benefit from it. And as retailers, on one hand, I would really like if there was more Ultimate Spider-Man. It's a good book, okay? It's a good, solid monthly book, but not every book is like that. The X titles aren't like that. The Avengers titles aren't like that. Marvel Rivals sells really well, but again, that's kind of that crossover gimmick, real-world type product that we don't have something that is driving those Wednesday Warriors, and that's what I feel.
Let me lay this on thick. I wasn't expecting to do this, but what you just said, especially about Ultimate Spider-Man, sparked me. Longtime listeners of the show, thank you. Appreciate you guys so much. Many of you have have heard in the backlog, and that backlog exists to be revisited all the time. I took you in the first 2 years of the show. I took you how Marvel expanded into the direct market, somehow how their creative changes and their approaches to publishing shifted, and they ultimately decided in 1986, 87, 88 that rather than do a bunch of spin-off books with the X-Men, spin-off miniseries, Avengers versus Fantastic Four, I'm sorry, X-Men versus Avengers, X-Men versus Fantastic Four, fill in the miniseries. They were doing a ton of them. They realized, and there were good talents doing them. You had Mark Silvestri, okay, before he became the regular X-Men guy, was doing the crossover, doing the Avengers X-Men. You had John Bogdanov, who was doing Fantastic Four. What they realized is we would do better upping the frequency of the X-Men and making it bi-weekly. And for 4 months a year, starting in the spring through the fall, every other week, twice a month, Uncanny X-Men, your existing bestseller just came to you twice. And where it was great for the talent pool, because this benefits the talent pool being on better selling comic books. They make more money. We want our artists to do well. We want our writers and artists to do well. And so when you say you wanted more, this is the company that really instigated this approach. Marvel is, and the idea that they would not upgrade the frequencies on and give you more ultimate product and just say, hey, let's let's uh, let's add another artist into the equation. Let's rotate it. This is now before you say, Rob, this is happening. Um, you got to tell me, like, this isn't happening, right?
No, it's not happening at all. And in the early Quemis, when Bill Jemas was there, that was one of his decrees. I think like on year two is to cut the retcons, cut the special events, cut the annuals, put all the main action into the
Okay.
titles. I would like to see more a return of that. Um,
So
Again, I
Jimmy,
just
as
forget
I
everything is
understand it, we are short on time with you. So do you have enough for one more like statement to finish, and then I'm going to
Yeah,
wrap it up.
okay. Okay, so this next fall coming out, we are retail wise, we're completely relying upon on gimmicks, and hopefully, fingers crossed, that there's quality to back up those gimmicks. Just like that Battle Beast had a blind bag that turned a lot of people on, but it was quality. Hopefully, the Batman blind bag that comes out in about a week
Okay. Okay.
resonates like that again. Hopefully, Deadpool Batman resonates like that.
Yeah, that's
Um,
going to do
I,
really
I
well.
mean, those are gimmicks. Those are gimmicks, but hopefully they're gimmicks that are going to be well
No, we
done.
want retailers to do well. We want you to do well. Jimmy,
Oh,
the fall preview session of this, we're not at the fall yet. We can come back and do that. I'm going to be doing that with
okay.
a couple other bright retail minds. We wanted to hear about how summer did. We wanted to hear how your summer sales, what worked, what didn't.
Fair.
I mean, it sounds like the hits that hit are hitting and continuing to hit. I love that your shows are doing well. Uh, m- m- I mean, the Marvel stuff, you're not alone. My retailer tells me the Alien, Predator, all that stuff. That's what you're talking about. Those are grabbing the consumer. But yeah, let's commit to doing a fall preview together and go down the menu because there's a lot of books. I do have a lot of questions for you.
I really would, and I think just for retailers as much as possible. And this is what I want to be clear about. It's about doubling down on our hits, and this is like no duh, but we're also trying to avoid the misses. And there's a lot of misses out there. You
Yeah,
don't have to keep miss if you miss, you don't have to keep on committing dollars to those misses. And
right.
that's what we're trying to do is keep being fluid, keep moving to where the market is more than this is what I've always bought. I have to keep on buying it. I have to keep on having stacks of unsold books because that's just money that we could keep on putting into projects that are resonating with the fans that to connect those creators with their products with the fans that they like. So let's keep on rolling it like that.
Jimmy J, you are a G. You are a definition of a G. I watched your beard go gray. So I knew you before you had the beard. Now there's a beard. It has gray. You are a G. Okay, dude. You have some knowledge. You dropped it. Lots to consider. Love that you joined us today. We're going to come back for our fall preview. It's not fall, it's still summer. We're
Okay.
airing this in the summer. There's so much coming out. I think September, October, November holds a lot of interesting stuff for the fans, which is why we do this, and for the stores who we need, you know, to carry this. So, Jimmy, thank you for joining us, brother. We will connect sooner than later. Thank you for visiting the show. You are a beloved guest. The people love you. They have spoken. You have spoken, and we will talk again soon.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it, guys.
And there you have it. That is our discussion with one Mr. Jimmy J. We had a great time catching up with him here and all of his insights from a guy who makes his living, has made his living for plus 30 years, ordering and getting comic books to the people. Okay. That's what he does. That's what he does best. I've again, known Jimmy a long time. I love hearing stuff you could hear even in the course of this conversation. There was just all these new ideas and information processing as he threw them at me. I mean, it's really great to talk to the guys who are connecting with the customers on a regular basis, because what they are sharing, what they are learning, and they get to share with us is so important. And we owe it to ourselves to learn, to find out, what exactly is going on. And you heard it here today. We're going to have him back as we do a deep dive looking into the fall catalog. Tons of stuff coming this fall. There's the aforementioned Deadpool, Batman, not one just but two, not one but two. One from Marvel, one from DC. We've got DC KO. We've got the return of some comic books at Image Comics like Rook. We have exciting stuff going on in Spawn and Witchblade. We have Youngblood coming to the masses. We've got an X-Men event. We have a brand new Batman book, and I mean Transformers 25. The shift to the brand new creative team with Robert Kirkman, with Dan Mora. I mean, it's packed. It's loaded. It's going to be exciting. We have Skin Breakers with Mr. David Finch, which I can't wait. Dave is one of my, if not my favorite artists in the business the last 20 years. He just puts the lines down that I react to the best. And we'll talk more about Dave in an upcoming episode. Hey, everybody, thanks for listening to the show. Thanks for sharing the love of the show. When I am not here on the show, I am on social media on X at Robert Liefeld, RobertLiefeld. Yes, that is truly me. It has a blue check next to my name, signifying that I am the real deal. I am reading your replies, your mentions, your comments. Super fun. Love to connect. Can't believe that I get to talk to people all over the world, just sitting there with my phone in my hand. It's really great advances. Love X, formerly known as Twitter. Very much enjoy all of the back and forth on that platform. On Instagram, I am at Rob Liefeld, just RoBLiefeld. I spell it because my name is so misspelled all the time. RoBLiefeld, blue check, again signifying I am the genuine article, the real deal. That is me. Love talking to you guys. That is more my visual diary. We're doing some fun stuff. Just some really fun shares lately. Thank you for joining me over there on Instagram. I read all your comments, your messages, your DMs, your messages, the stuff that you send me. There are artists that are absolutely landing with me and getting shots with me from social media. So guys, I receive that stuff that you sent me, and there'll be more on that real soon. Over on Facebook, Rob Liefeld, Marvel, Extreme, and Beyond is our group. Myself, a gentleman named Terry Sala, Sala. We run the group. It's a fun group. It celebrates comics. Each and every episode of this show gets a dedicated post so you can discuss it in greater detail and greater depth. I am always on there chatting it up with everybody. It's a fun place. It's like a living room. We just ask you, don't put your cigarettes out on the carpet. Don't spill the beer on the floor. Just be nice. We'll have a good time hanging out together. It's a really fun group. Rob Liefeld, Marvel, Extreme, and Beyond. We will look forward to seeing you over there on live streams. I am mostly on Whatnot, Rob Liefeld, especially going into the fall. We've got a lot of stuff. We've got Deadpool Wolverine. We've got all of the signed Deadpool Wolverine stuff that we're going to be offering. We've got the Youngblood stuff. We've got Youngblood manga. We've got giant size Youngblood manga. We've got a sneak peek special online edition of Youngblood #2. Many of these items you can order from my website, Rob Liefeld Creations. One word, robliefeldcreations.com. Google, it'll be the website that comes up when you Google me. It's my home site. It's got all these comic books pre-orders for sale. We have a great track record, a 5-star record, 24,000 items, I believe, or is it 50,000? It's some insane multiple thousands of items that we have moved through live streaming and even more on my website. So we do all sorts of exclusives, content that you can't get anywhere else. It's not coming to your store. I definitely believe in the power of direct to consumer, and I believe it's an enhancement and kind of comes up alongside. I think it even helps the stuff that's in the comic stores. The history of Youngblood from issue 1 to what is, I think, 94, 95 issues so far. They are in your back issue bins or up on the walls at your retailer, and those retailers are selling out. And on eBay, that stuff is flying. Okay, the return of Youngblood is the tide that is lifting all the other ships. Okay, and everybody is who has a Youngblood is benefiting from the noise that we have been making in direct to consumer as we lead up to this giant mass market release. So, really looking forward to seeing you guys. I will be at the New York Comic Con in October, the week of that show. I look forward to seeing all of you. We've got VIP packages which come with exclusive comic books that will be only a part of those VIP packages. So check those out again at robliefeldcreations.com. I love hanging with you. I love that we shared great time together, and Jimmy visited our show again today. Thank you, Jimmy, for taking that time. Thank you, as always, for listening. You guys know I want you to do well. I am rooting for you. I hope your mental, emotional, physical, and spiritual well-being are exactly where you need it to be. If not, take time off, step away, indulge yourself this weekend. Whatever cheat day you have that great meal, have that dessert, go out with friends, see a movie, get to a comedy club, go to the beach, ride your bike at the park, your skateboard, go for a long walk with your wife. That's what I do. You gotta unplug from the madness that surrounds all of us. We're rooting for you. We'll continue to root for you too. Boom. Fist right into this Blue Yeti mic. Wishing you all the very best. Do not leave me here. As always, right there, that's my spot. Come back, get me. We will. Most definitely, absolutely, inevitably, we will talk again real soon.